Welcome back to Access Middle East. Now, the reason I'm in this $220,000 McLaren is because Mumtalakat has a sizable stake in the iconic British company. When you think about it, Mumtalakat bought into this company in 2007, and they've stuck with it through the hard times. They bought into McLaren at a time where the company was successful. It is just a brand that encapsulates so much racing history. They understand the sport, and you can see what the rationale behind Mumtalakat's decision is to step into McLaren. I mean, the idea that you have this BIC, this racing circuit here, they have invested so much money into this project. And it hasn't really worked out that well so far. The circuit's been here for 10 years, and you can see around me is really not much more than desert. So is the McLaren ownership just a trophy asset? That's where we pick it up with Mahmood Al Kooheji, CEO of Mumtalakat. There you go, 160, 170, 180. One of your high-profile investments abroad is in luxury car maker McLaren. Is it more than just a trophy asset?
Of course, it's a commercial decision that we took. You see, McLaren is, the group is in two divisions. The group and the automotive. Automotive is where they make the luxury cars. That is a very commercial, very viable, profitable business that we've gone into it. And I think there will be a lot of potential for growth in that businesses.
There are rumors that Honda is interested in taking over Mumtalakat's stake in McLaren. Is this true?
You know, I think, you know, our stake in McLaren, you know, we are happy to have it there. You know, if there is a business opportunity for somebody to buy from us, we look at it commercially, but there is no talks at the moment directly with them, no.
So, but you're generally open to a sale if it makes commercial sense?
Well, yes. I mean, if you look at the automotive, it is a unique business. It's the only road car that uses Formula One technology. It's very, very unique. It's a very high-tech car. It's very much in demand. And you know, people who know the business, they know that this is a very, very solid venture.
Talk me through some of the tangible returns that you've seen. I mean, I know you speak of the knowledge transfer, but in what other ways have you felt that return, be it in the UK or here in Bahrain?
Well, if we talk about Bahrain, let's step back and talk about Formula One. You know, we established the Bahrain circuit in Formula One 10 years ago. And we've been doing an assessment of the business itself every year. Our estimate is that we have benefited at the tune of $1 billion over the past 10 years, directly. And if I include the direct benefit, the country has benefited $2 billion from Formula One coming to Bahrain.
I followed the Formula One story in Bahrain since its inception in 2004. And from what I recall at the time, the plans were much more ambitious. I mean, there was talk of adding factories, adding plants, contributing to the automotive supply chain. Would you say that it has lived up to expectations, or would you agree that it hasn't developed as fast as you would have liked?
I think there is more potential. Yes, our ambition was much higher, much more. We have achieved a lot, but I think the sky is the limit. There is a huge potential there to build an industry around the Formula One. That is where one of the areas we are focusing on to see how we can develop.
Would you agree that the investment in McLaren also has political significance in that it cements your strong historic relationship with the United Kingdom?
It does that, but it was a commercial decision. We did a proper due diligence, we did a proper process, and we said, this is a company that is established. It's looking for capital for growth. It wants to grow. It's looking for a long-term capital to make it grow, and that's where Mumtalakat went in.
Within Bahrain, you have stakes in over 30 companies, and one of them is in the national carrier, flag carrier, Gulf Air. That has been a burden on Mumtalakat's balance sheets for years. In October 2012, there was a bailout to the tune of $500 million. And as of end 2013, the understanding is that the government is taking on the cash infusions from their end. So it's no longer as much of an onus on the bottom line as it used to be. You had to, as part of the restructuring program, you had to cancel routes, you had to reduce staffing by almost a third, even sell airplanes. Has the cost cutting ended?
Yes. I think, the restructuring, the cost cutting is ended. Now we're looking at increasing revenue. You mentioned Gulf Air, all of that, part of the reason the government is supporting Gulf Air is Bahrain is an island. We have roads, we have bridges to Saudi Arabia, we need to have bridges to the world. Gulf Air is the bridge that we use to connect our economy to the rest of the world. What
is the future of this airline? Are you going to be part of that future? Or are you looking to sell your assets to another airline abroad?
I think Gulf Air is needed for the economy of Bahrain. Gulf Air, I don't think Gulf Air lost its way. Gulf Air used to be the airline of four
I think the last 5 years show that Gulf Air lost its way.
I know, because it had to go through a lot of changes. It used to serve 4 countries. Suddenly it had to serve only Bahrain. We needed to come to reality and readjust the company to that fact. That's what we have done in the past year.
So you stand by your investment in Gulf Air and you're not looking to divest?
No, I think it is.
Because you were in talks with potential buyers a few years ago, but that is no longer the case.
That's not the case.
Given your experience, would you invest in another airline as a sovereign wealth fund?
No.
Unlike other Gulf sovereign wealth funds, your exposure to exotic real estate in some of the developed markets is non-existent. Why is Mumtalakat not following the rest of the Gulf to London and to New York and to other vibrant real estate markets?
Well, I don't say we follow them. We follow the commercial business. We have seen people who gave us some potential real estate opportunity, and we said we will look at it commercially. If it makes sense, we'll go into it. I think we are commercially oriented.
So you're saying that the other investments from other sovereign wealth funds are not necessarily driven by the commercial viability?
I think they can speak for themselves. I can speak for Mumtalakat, and we are commercially driven.
Because it would seem that is what you're pointing towards, is that you are pressed by the commercial viability, whether the others are doing it either out of satisfaction to their own egos or simply because they can afford it.
I'll be very interested to hear their answer when you ask them that question.
Okay, well, we'll get them those questions and get you those answers. Still to come on the show, we continue our chat with Mahmood Al Kooheji and discuss one of its hottest assets, aluminum Bahrain. Stay tuned.
Alba have always kept ahead of the pack. If all the plans in the region go ahead, the GCC region will be only 15% of global production. So we still have a huge potential to capture.